to what we've been talking about this entire time. I knew I need to do shit that was about me, that was a personality, right? I've never acted, right? It would, and to your credit, what you wrote was a reflection of who I am, but also why I was intrigued. It was the polar opposite of who I am too. So it was me and the opposite of me. So if we ever do that, but that's connected to where I'm going. So we got to make that happen, man. But I had to say that real quick. You know what I mean? So let this be known. Let me brag for a second. So I have a guy that has a show, Writers to Netflix, that wrote a part based on your boy. I'm done. I've won. I've won a life. I've won a life. Before we get going, let me actually officially, introduce us. Brand Talk Live. Of course, I'm the host, Brandon Gasson, Lifestylest. You know me, but my guest today, Kristen LaMontagne. I actually had to ask and make sure I enunciated it correctly. And I want to say, man, writer, obviously, screenwriter. We'll get into that. But also, I just want to say creator, right? We got the Netflix in the back. It's serious out here. But I want to say creator, and the reason why I say that is, creators create. Right. And when you are a true creative, there are no boxes. There are no, areas or you can't compartmentalize creativity. Right. And you've done that exceptionally well because, you write, you obviously you're in fashion. You know what I'm saying? You've done events, activations, you shoot. I literally had someone that went on my live or actually on my IG post is like, yo, that guy has some of the dopest photos I've ever seen. Right? And so creators create. And so let's not even put it in a box. But for those that don't know you or just coming into contact with you for the first time, I don't know where they've been, but let them know who you are and what you do.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, yes, as Brandon, thank you, by the way, for having me on. It really means a lot to be a part of this, man. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing right now. And, man, you slay it. We've been homies for a minute. We've been on the rooftop talking about this.
We have. Drip Saturdays. They don't know about it. That was a thing in the P.
They don't know about those private lunches up on the roof there over on MLK there.
They don't know about those either. You know what? That's the thing. They only see the what we show them. You know what I mean? Which, also is might be strategic. It might be because, you know what I mean? It's just a lot that goes on behind the scenes. They don't see everything. And they don't know that, man, for the 20%, 10% you see, there's an 80, 90% behind the scenes that allows you to see that 10%.
And I think that's the way people should keep it, honestly. And that's why, like, I do when I come into my introductions, it's a lot of people know me from a lot of different things that I've done in the past and not necessarily understand that it's all been a journey to where I have finally became where I am now, like who I am. You know what I mean? Like that caterpillar. That's who I was when I'm Christian LaMontagne, by the way, to the world. Just in case you didn't know, I'm a writer, professional screenwriter, story developer, and script supervisor. And it has been a long journey to get here, B. Like, I was born in Vermont, raised out on New England and between the streets of New England cities and the streets of New York City. So I've been in Portland for about 10 or 12 years now.
Okay.
12 years.
Yeah, so you're official Portlander now.
I'm official. I was here back in the day when they were doing parties at the Crown Room, and they were doing it was actual real Portland. And
what's funny though? To that point, you said Vermont and New York. Only New Yorkers let you know they're from New York. And what I mean by that is, if you know, man. You could be in New York, you could have been in another city for 25 years. You could be 28 years old, and you be like, "Yo, I'm from New York." You know what I'm saying? Like that. New York has a level of pride I don't think any other city, state, location has, maybe globally, because they will definitely let you know. I got boys that's from New York, and that first thing, like, I don't care. They've been out here, they've been in Vancouver, Portland, 40 years. I'm from New York. Period. End of discussion. I don't care how long I've been here. I'm always from New York. I'm always representing New York, and that's what it is.
I mean, the bio on the Instagram is going to say NYC/PDX.
Yeah.
New York had me for a minute. Vermont has my heart for life, and if it weren't for Vermont, I don't think that I would have fallen in love with Portland, Oregon as much nearly.
Gotcha.
Now, because they're very similar in mentality and geographical similarities.
So you touched a little bit, but we see the Netflix in the back, man. So let's talk a little bit about that arc, right? And actually, what I want to say is interesting, and I feel like you can expand upon it probably more than most people. For me, when I launched and doing wardrobe branding in 2015 in Portland, Oregon, and I say Oregon intentionally because if you aren't from Portland, that's how you enunciate it, right?
Absolutely, they did.
What I was doing didn't exist how I wanted to do it. So I had to create that space. Same thing like with the parties and whatnot. The thing is, I realized I knew where my end game was, and I was doing a lot of different things. And what would be interesting is I had friends that'd be like, people want to know what you do. It's like, yo, I won Stylist of the Year 2 out of the last 3 years. Like, obviously I'm dressing people, but to what I alluded to earlier, creators create. It was never just about dressing someone in Nordstrom's. It was about, I'm on TV, I can create parties, I can create a vibe, and all this was going into where I wanted to go. And so sometimes people don't even understand what all it is you do, not knowing that is intentionally a part of the journey. And then obviously some things are unintentional, but it adds to the journey. Talk about that from your perspective, that how all the things kind of attributed to where you are and what that journey has been for you.
That's a beautiful lead in, Brandon, because to be honest, I mean, that's exactly the way that your story is so similar to mine in the fact that, so this right here, my first successful screenplay that I sold recently that made me who I am currently today. I had written 12, 15 years ago, my guy. I had the story sitting in my email 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that had story development, films, that was always my goal. That was always my end game. And, you know, if you're in LA and you want to be a famous actor, you're waiting tables, you're working at the coffee shop and you're going on auditions, trying to make that shit happen for you, right? Yeah. So as a creative person, I moved to Portland and I knew I had an end game in mind, you know, but I didn't have any idea of how to get there. I didn't have anybody in my personal circle. I moved here alone. Gotcha. And so I decided, okay, I don't really want to work at a coffee shop or a restaurant until I get where I want to be, you know? So I was just like, I came in very humble. I started off working an internship at a recording studio in Southeast Portland, where I ended up just meeting tons of musicians, photographers, and models. And I just ended up becoming personal friends of mine. Yeah. And we would all go out to the nightclubs at the time, and people would be like, who's this fucking guy from New York out here? You know, he's bringing all these people through the clubs and he's trying to, you know, and I'm slick and I'm new out here. So I'm, you know, I got a big chip on my shoulder. Right. Yeah. And this is right when Facebook blew up, probably about 2010, 2011. Got
you. I appreciate the context.
And so everybody was always like, oh, bro, just come through the club. We'll lace you with this. We'll lace you with that. And bring your friends. Bring them, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, you know, I can capitalize on this. So I was like, fuck it. Let's just get some parties going. We started throwing nightclub events out in Portland. You know, we did them a little differently. We would set up runways inside the middle of a nightclub, and we would do like body paint fashion shows while we got DJs. We tried to make it as LA and Las Vegas and like as one oak as possible for Portland. Right. Yeah. And through that, I mean, we're drinking champagne with Tony Parker and the Spurs and everybody who's, you know, and so we're just getting a little bit of clout and through this nightlife scene. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to pivot on this, right? I'm like going to start to like use this as like, we want to get out of the clubs. Let's do this. Let's bring a marketing brand in for everybody, you know, out here in Portland. So we started doing some marketing for companies, transitioned into that. We ended up transitioning into doing creative marketing. We were around 2013, 2014. We were just sick of doing nightclub parties. We wanted to do creative shit. Kanye West was doing all his weird, funky shit at the time, and Virgil Abloh was just coming up, and we were like, we just want to start bringing these mainstream Portland and Pacific Northwest brands that we're fucking with outside of the box, outside into this creative element. You know what I mean? And so we started doing creative marketing and like, you know, weirdo billboard design ideas and weirdo ads and like bringing out VHS cameras when people were trying to get the most expensive like red cameras like that cost $50,000 to shoot their commercials with. We're like, okay, we're gonna shoot that with a $10 garage sale VHS type outside the box, you know, like, and so we were just building. I was building all these creative assets and my Rolodexes up, and we were just working with brands and working with companies, and eventually I found my ass out at Nike, as you know, a lot of people do in this area because they're here.
If you're a creator, you gotta go. I mean, you're damn near forced to go through Nike. You're either at Nike, at Wyden, at Adidas, or else, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you go to one of them spots. Like, you go end up there eventually, or you're in cross paths. Like, literally, it's funny you say that, man. I had I'm in AZ, and not to cut you off, but you know, Drake shot that new video, right?
Yeah.
At the campus.
Oh yeah.
So a friend of mine calls me day of. And I'm in AZ. Friend of mine calls me day of. I'm not gonna say no names, whatever. She calls me and she's like, "Yo, B, we in a conundrum. Like we gotta get clothes. We need clothes. Better shoot this video. I can't tell you who it is. Better shoot this video. Da 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 da." I'm like, okay, well, where can you find designer menswear in Portland? I'm like, well, shit, I don't shop in Portland for a reason. There's no place to go. She already went to Nordstrom's, Mario's. You know, you have Francis Maya, Marcus, whatever. Long story short, she ended up telling me, she's like, yo, Drake is in town. We need to have this video. They should have bought the clothes. Do you have clothes that might work? Da, 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 da. I'm like, well, I know the St. Laurent store just opened. Maybe they can plug you. And so it was just a crazy situation. But it was obviously through Nike. But it's like, I guess I want to say that to say, and it was a perfect lead in through you. If you're a creator, there's this amazing aspect to the city of Portland, because you have the Nikes, because you have the Wydens, because you have the Adidas, and almost to where you said earlier, where you go to LA if you're an actor or a director, because you have the opportunity. There's the vicinity to excellence, right? There's the vicinity to opportunity. As a creative, that is almost the same like with Portland. If you take away New York and if you take away LA, right? Like, there's a vicinity to creativity in Portland that might be unmatched. Definitely from any other city of that size.
Absolutely. And I think that the teams of people that tend to work on the creative projects out here are far more unique and have a far broader spectrum of ideas, and I think a lot more free reign on projects than a lot of people in New York and LA agencies are allowed to have. You know, I know Wyden for a fact they're throwing crazy ideas around over there, man. Like, and they end up landing on some of the biggest accounts in the world. So
crazy. Have you seen that little like tree they have up top?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been in the little nest. It's a bird's
nest.
Yeah.
Shit's crazy. People that don't know, Wyden Kennedy, obviously one of the biggest ad agencies, awards after awards after awards. Why a lot of creatives come to Portland, but they have this nest at the very top of their building, which you can't just go and see it, but it's a crazy little space.
They got it going on. But so I'll say that to say this. So, you know, instead of waiting tables the whole time, instead of doing whatever, I was just trying to find creative ways to make it through while, at the same time, I mean, essentially just, better than anybody else that unless you are a part of, and even in Nike, they would love for you to be this, but unless you're a part of something like that, then in this creative world that we're in, we are our own brands, man. That brand new, that's your thing, right? So I've always treated myself like that. Since I moved out to Portland, I have always treated myself as a brand because I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be tethered to Nike or Adidas or Wyden Kennedy. I mean, Lord, that would be fantastic if that's how it had worked out. But I had always just treated myself as a brand because I always knew when this project ended or the dust settled from this, whatever, that I would still be Christian LaMontagne, and I would still have this Rolodex of contacts. I would still have this list of skills and this CV that says I've done all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And so I've just always focused on whether Christian taught myself how to shoot photos as a photographer, or whether
dope ass photos too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I tried to do something a long time ago out here that not a lot of people were doing, and that was like heavy. I covered up a lot of my novice skills with some artistic flair that ended up just defining my style.
Yeah.
And bro, I was on a run there shooting. We did 900 photo shoots in under 3 years. So,
which is
like,
man, talk about being first. talk about being first. I want to stay there for a second because, again, as we mentioned, from an outsider, Portland, obviously we are a hotbed for creativity if you're within one of the establishments, right? Ooh. At the same time, we aren't necessarily progressive in trends, and setting things up. We're almost late adopters as a city, as a region. So when you do something new, it is very foreign. And then any time when you're doing something new, you have to take the bumps and bruises of being first in the space. Talk about how it is for you being first in a space and those bumps and bruises that you have to withstand, and the confidence you have to have within yourself to sustain long enough to be like, no, this is how it should be, right? Because as a creative, you're just creating. You're creating based upon your own gut, based upon what you feel needs, what the space is lacking. And that's cool when you're in a space where they're accepting of that. But when you're first, they are not accepting. And so how do you have the perseverance to stay in there and be like, no, this is what it is? You know what I mean?
Man, that fortitude that you're speaking of it's tough out here, my guy. Because
we've had conversations. I know. That's how I want you.
You know how quick things can change for a person or a brand or a club or a restaurant in the Pacific Northwest, bro.
Yeah.
And I'll say that to all the fans of everyone watching outside of this region that might not be understanding of the culture and the fact that it is large cities that somehow everybody and everything seems intertwined, bro. Everybody knows fucking everybody. I don't know how when there's millions of people, everybody knows everybody. It's a weird thing. So,
because the subcultures are very small.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like we're considered a city from whatever, but in the subcultures, and I'll just say even a subculture of creativity in the Northwest, it's like, there's only a few. Like I said, it all comes down to Nike, White, and Adidas, and I'm sure leaving other ones out. But it's like, in that crossover, and that overlap and the exchange between people throughout that triangle of creativity,
absolutely,
everyone knows everybody. And so we're all connected. And so as soon as your brand is known for a specific thing, that's what it is, good or bad.
And it best be good.
Got to be.
Because I'll tell you, so I say the reason that I've been able to keep the trajectory that I've had in my creative endeavors is, I would honestly say, not listening to anyone but myself. Basically,
a focus group of one.
Because I have these ideas and I take criticism and I take notes and I take things from people who want to bring things to me. But if you're just about to shit on my project for some reason, I'm not even going to hear it. You know what I mean? That's absolutely not fun. So I'm just going to move past that. I think not getting caught up in people's opinions is probably the most crucial. Sticking true to the idea that you had yourself, that you think was going to get you to the level that you wanted to be on, very, 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 very important. And I also say that to say this: doing good business, whether it be in any arena, is also a good element to keep.
Well, the problem with a lot of people that give opinions is they come in with opinions without listening and having an understanding. You know what I mean? Like for me, whenever someone asks me something, I can only give them that perspective from my frame of reference, right? So I'm never going to shit on someone's idea because, I don't know what got them to that place. And so a lot of times when people come and be like, yo, you should do it this way, and be like, yo, that might be right, but you don't have this undertone and all this understanding of why I'm doing it this way. So unless you can, from someone that's actually giving advice, unless you can peel back the onion, peel back the layers of what created, where the direction you're trying to go, then you really can't give an opinion on it that's really going to be helpful. And that's a lot of people, they just want to, whatever. And then I was listening to that Nick Cannon, Kanye West interview recently, right?
Yep.
And he was like, yo, unless you created Mercy, unless you created Cool Summers, Good Fridays, not that you don't have an opinion, but you don't have an opinion, if you get what I'm saying. Like, you can have an opinion, but you don't have an opinion until you've actually gone through that. What I want to know is, you mentioned, me and you are both, we know what the end game was. We had an idea where we wanted to go, and I'm doing now and then going in the direction I want to go. But you have to go through all these different things, right? We talked about it's almost like entrepreneurs, like that EKG, right? We're just going back and forth. They think it's some straight line. You're going here. How did you discern that what you were doing was connected to the end game? How do you stay on track? Because when you're doing so much, how do you know, like, okay, shit, this is foreign, but I know somehow, some way it's gonna work out?
Man, that's a very wonderful question, man. And so I have a great answer from my own personal perspective on that. And so I never lost sight along the way. I was hopefully just gaining skills and people and things that I would get. I got to a very important crossroads about 3 years ago where I had done all of the things that we had just talked about. I had done nightclub events. We had done marketing. We had done, we did so much, and photography, videography, creative direction, and design with Nike, and just everything that's, I put it on. I said, so back where I'm from, I grew up different. So my OG, my dude he would tell me back in the day, he'd say, empty out your pockets, and what you can put on the table is literally what you're worth. And I'm like, and I always held that as the metaphor, not just for the cash or whatever is in your pocket. I held it as a metaphor of like all the skills that you learn in your life, you'd be putting them shits in the pocket, all the job opportunities you get and all the connects you can get jobs from, you put in your pocket. So about 3 years ago, I had like emotional crossroads in my life, and I emptied out my pockets onto my table of life. And I was going through all the shit that I had done in the last 10 years. And I was like, all right, I got enough here to go to the store and buy what I've been saving up for. You know what I mean? Like, I have enough here to be able to make that phone call, get a meeting, get an agent, rep my first screenplay that I had written 15 fucking years ago.
I love that. Keep going.
Use all the connections I had there to get that shit sold. Okay. Yeah. Using all the connections I had to get that shit in phase 1 development down at one of the biggest companies in the world.
Got you.
And then used all of that to start the career that I wanted. And I didn't start the fucking career that I wanted till I was 30 years old, bro.
Yeah. Man.
Even though that was what I wanted when I was 18 or 15.
That's,
you know what I mean?
Yo, I do know. And that's honestly, that's why I want to create this space. And when I started like a podcast, outside of it being a pivotal business move, it was like, yo, I need people to break it down. You know what I mean? Like real people that I know that I'm going to learn even more from, but I need them to break it down what it's really like. You said gaining people, right? Gaining people. I always say relationships are the keys to open doors, right?
The most important. People changed my life, bro.
Man, so talk about that as a tactic, right? Because like I knew again, going back to my story, I knew I wanted to do this. I knew at some point I'm working with these type of individuals. I have my brand in this space. I knew I'm the connector. Like I'm the center of all these relationships, and that if at some point they're going to want to tap into me because they want to get that. I didn't even know what an influencer was. I didn't even know what it meant. I wanted actual influence, not to be an influencer. There's a difference, right? So mine was I wanted to have influence and I wanted to have relationships. So I was strategic with how I actually went about gaining relationships. But from a tactical perspective, let's break it down. Like, how did you go about, and how did you have, obviously, it probably came natural to you. Knowing people and building that credibility and building those relationships and shaking hands and kissing babies, as I always say, politic, and like that's what allows you to get into other opportunities. How did you know to go about it? Like, how did you do it?
I'll tell you, man, and that ties in exactly with why I didn't want to spend those years trying to get my dream done by waiting tables and by working fold and close at the Gap because, and no disrespect to that, that just wasn't for me because I knew that I wouldn't be able to network and socialize in those positions to the point where I could ascertain people like Pokemon cards, bro, and pull them out when you need to use, you know, not to disrespect humans like that. People aren't Pokemon cards, but you got to understand if you're out there in a huge, and I always put myself, that's why we were in the nightclubs. That's why we were in the recording studios, in the photography studios, you know, out there trying to get numbers from these people, trying to make connections to people. And any connection is a viable connection to me, bro. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. You could tell me, bro, like, it's just the people that I've met that certain people would disrespect and brush off through whatever, judging books by covers or whatever it is. Yeah. Man, some of those people are the most influential human beings that I have ever met. And I will never judge a book by a cover. I will never. And like you said, people are onions, bro. You'll be up in the club and you'll ask someone what they do and they'll say that they do this, but they're actually a fucking opera singer. She said she's a cocktail waitress, but she's a fucking opera singer. She just didn't come off to say it, but she is an opera singer because she got the pipes for it and she'd be singing opera in her spare time, trying to get that to be, but you know what I mean? So.
Well, you know, and sometimes, bro, not even sometimes people that you meet, they don't even know their influence. They don't know how they can connect you to someone else. You know what I mean? And it's not about
that was me. Man. I took myself for granted. People were like asking me, so I would hang out with models, and then photographers would be like, "Oh, introduce me to some models," and it was just a casual thing that would happen, like plugging a light into a socket. Oh, I'm going to help my friend who's a photographer help my friend who's a model. It's a vice versa situation. And I was in the middle of these type of deals. That was just on the small end. And then, I mean, I've introduced people to their wives and their husbands inadvertently through like parties and shit. It's like, it's just like influence is just in so many different ways that I think, to be honest, I would rather not know the power that I have as an influencer and just like go about my way in some like mystical, oh, maybe I introduce them to their husbands or maybe I introduce them to their new boss and get them that job type situation.
I mean, it's almost like we're similar in that regard. Like I'm a relationship broker almost. You know what I mean? Like literally I broker relationships and it's not in a manipulative way. You know what I mean? Like it was like, okay, because I'm always, for me, anyone that knows me knows that I think about their win before I think about mine. Because I know I'm going to win. But I always view it from their perspective. At the same time, you know what I mean? People, I've connected to people and I've never asked for nothing. You know people who's let's keep it 1,000. You know people who how many W-2s or 1099s I've impacted without ever asking for anything, just on the strength of our relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being 1,000%, and I'm not saying it in a way like whatever. I never expect nothing back. I don't want nothing back. I do it because it's a genuine love for whoever.
And I'll go back on that Pokemon card statement. Literally, like I used to actually collect people's business cards, and I would literally walk around with hella business cards just from like one night out. Bro, one time I remember someone would be like, "Oh, do you know a good caterer?" And I actually was like, "Oh yeah, I just came from an event. Here's the caterer." Because I somehow had the caterer's card because I was chopping it up with the caterer all night. And I got that caterer lady business from my buddy who needed a caterer, ironically, like the same day or week, whatever the fuck it was. And it's just like, why not, bro? You know what I mean? Exactly. Why wouldn't you talk to the caterer? Why wouldn't you chop it up with everybody in the room? Everybody in the room. Everybody in the room, bro, I chop it up with, bro. I don't care if they're setting the chairs up, taking the chairs down, or sitting in the chairs. I don't give a fuck. And now as a writer, everybody's got a story.
Exactly. Yeah. You come there. So, and I think, let's talk about that because we're different. I feel like you're probably more outgoing than I am naturally. Like, I'm actually pretty reserved. And the reason why I threw events.
That's hard to believe with you.
Okay. So let me provide context. I have good people skills. Like that is actually one of my superpowers. I can connect to anybody. That is a superpower of mine and I recognize it. Yet I don't need to be the center of attention. I'm perfectly fine just chilling, whatever. Like there's some people that need it. I don't need it. Now, as I progressed in my career, this is like anything. Like if you do biceps long enough, your arms are going to get big. You know what I mean? If I'm out shaking hands and kissing babies long enough, I'm going to become a politician. right? So now that has become a part of me. Yet I don't need it. But one of the reasons why I always loved fashion was because that was my invention and that was my connection point. And then when later on I started doing events, when you do events, you ain't got to be outgoing. Everyone wants to talk to you. So
Absolutely.
that was my way to being that relationship broker, being the center. But I would imagine, but I think you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably more outgoing than I am. Would you consider yourself outgoing?
Yeah, before I'm extremely extroverted, man, and I feel like that has been. I mean, if it's a double-edged sword, but it is also. I think the key to my success has been the fact that I obviously broker some sort of or harbor some sort of talent, but at the same time, I just feel like I just love being around people. I will listen to your stories. I will add to your stories. I will get you to tell stories. And then we can broker relationships. Oh, you need a person or whatever. But like, I love people, bro. I'll sit and I'll vibe with anybody. Like, I really do. And I think that being an extroverted person and being approachable, my whole duration of my existence out here, this last 10 years, I think it made me the person who I am and has brought me all of the things that I have now.
So let's talk about that, man. So you got to Portland 10, 12 years ago. You went through the progression of nightlife, being a creative at Nike. You're gathering relationships. You're building social capital. Real social capital, in-person social capital. Now, what's that arc? And then you said, like you said, you have the value. You understand. I now have enough. I can bring enough to the table. Right? I'm not eating off anyone else. Like I can actually feed people at this point. I'm bringing something to the table. What was that now? Like, tell me about where you're at now and to that feeling. Because like I said, I know a lot of writers or a lot of creatives, they want to be in the position that you are now at. Like everyone don't have a Netflix in the back, right? I don't have it. So how did you go from that? Because even once you have the people, there's still a process and a grind to even make that happen.
Bro, I'll tell you like that. The connections that I was able to ascertain were the foot in the door. But in Hollywood, bro, that door is only open for a small amount of time, and then they're going to shut it, and they're going to fucking lock that door. Yeah. And you better change your name, and because you ain't coming back with the same one, bro. Trust me. And so I had a really fucking good script.
But talk that talk, because that's the thing. Like, the relationships will get you in. Like, Mike, I tell people, like, look, this is the difference between me dressing you and you dressing yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get you in the door.
Listen.
I'm going to get you opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise. But it's up to you not to fuck it up.
I had my agent's phone number in my phone since fucking college, right? I wanted to write this script since fucking then. Yeah. But I didn't shoot my shot until 12 years later, until I knew I was ready.
Got you.
That's what the power of keeping those business cards has.
How did you know? How did you know you were ready? Was it a feeling? Like, how did you know?
I'll tell you, there's two things. I felt that it was ready. Mm-hmm. And then, like, that was the day that I emptied my metaphorical pockets onto the table, right? Yeah. And I said, this is the one thing I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to do design at Nike and have them take my ideas and not get credit. I don't want to do marketing and work for other people. And I don't want to make 10%. I want to pay someone else 10% of what I make. I don't want to be the guy who gets the 10%. I want to give the 10%. And I said, what's my best chance? Well, this fucking business card I've been holding on to for a decade, this script I've been working on for a fucking decade, and the will to want to make it fucking happen, I guess. Called that call, shot my shot, got that meeting, and then we progressed through, bro, and then made the first sale, made the first splash. They flew me down to the headquarters down in LA, and then that was that about 2 years ago. And now I'm just banging them out, bro. Getting to do what I want now with my ideas and my stories and shit. So it's fucking a blessing.
So yeah, man. What does that look like now? What are you doing? Actually, let me go back real quick. So
Yeah,
you said because there's creatives, right? And there's a lot of people because of the pandemic, they're now maybe not creative, but they're becoming entrepreneurs. They want to become entrepreneurs, right?
for
And
sure.
so for them, you said, and I just want to reiterate this, you got to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I built up this Rolodex of relationships. I might be dating myself. I built up these relationships. I built up experience because it's gaining relationships and gaining experience. You were at that inflection point where you're like, okay, I've done enough. I'm now ready. And from all the relationships I've gained, I now know this is my greatest opportunity for success. And you were able to discern this is my greatest path for success. And you went for it and you leaned into it as
The heavier.
opposed to, that double dutch, right? Where you waiting to go in and you don't know. Like I tell people all the time, like you have to go all the way in because it's too hard to have your toe in the water.
And everything that I had done in the past, I had never gone all the way in.
Mm,
Photography, I didn't know if that industry was going to last, if it was going to be sustainable to take care of me and my family. So I put my toe in the water, you
yeah.
know, designing for Nike, pitching shoes for companies and doing that type of brand design work. Fuck, who knows how long that's going to last. I didn't go all in.
Yeah.
I knew at that time with the connect, the project that was ready, and then the will and the ideas that I had backlogged, that it was just time to lean in. And I had never leaned in to anything in my life career-wise until then.
Bro, man, I hate to keep referencing Ye. I know you see he worked at Nike. Well, he was a Nike entity. I know everyone has their opinion on Ye. But literally, what he said in the interview that stuck with me, because I've ebbed and flowed with things. You know what I mean? I've done things that mentally seemed like it should work on paper, but I wasn't all the way in it. And he said, everything that my heart was into has been successful. And I think that is the greatest way to understand the difference between if you're all in or not. Like if you can strategically and tactically from a mental perspective be like, oh, that should work, but your heart isn't in it, it's not gonna work. Like you have to have your heart in it because when your heart's in it, that's when you're willing to get the door slammed in your face. That's when you're willing to just iterate and change and pivot. All the things we talked about, what we're doing right now, pivoting the pivot, iterating the iterate, expanding, reducing, expanding back. You know what I mean? Like that's that EKG of entrepreneurship, man. It's when you have your heart into it.
The heartbeat of being an entrepreneur, bro, of being self-sufficient and rearing your dreams, bro. If you ain't going like this, you're flatlined, bro, and you're dead, baby.
Literally, my God. So now that you've got to that point, so tell us about what's going on now, man. Now that you're able to get your ideas, you got the contracts. I don't know how deep you can get into it. What is the life like of a writer? Like, what does that look like?
Man, I feel blessed, bro. I have a ton of children. And I don't have a ton of children. I got some kids, and I'm here with them, man. I'm raising them through the pandemic, through the race, the equality things. I mean, I feel blessed. I'm here to be a writer, to be able to sit here and educate my children every day, to keep them on the right path every day, education wise, culturally. Writing has been able to afford that for me. And the way that I went about writing was unconventional in a sense. Like I feel, well, not necessarily, because I feel like I'd say about 50% of professional writers probably do live in LA.
Gotcha.
And the rest are remote. It probably would behoove you to live down there once you're an established writer. But for me, I always felt like if you can be like the king of a kingdom, whether it be a small kingdom or a big kingdom, the kings of any kingdom are going to respect you, right?
Gotcha.
So I'm the fucking loudmouth young writer from fucking Portland who's got this and that and this and that on his resume, and now I'm not living in LA trying to step on any of their toes, right? Yeah. So they're fucking with me, right? Which is nice. So I can work from home. I write at home. I zoom in my pitches. I zoom in production notes to my agents, to my editors, things like that. So I get to spend my days being creative and raising my kids, bro, which is an absolute blessing, man. That's the most work perk of all work perks of all time. So.
Right. Yo, talk about these times. Not to go into the negative side of it, but I want to talk about the silver lining of it.
Yes.
As a creative, I know for me right now, I'm just trying to consume.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to consume as much information as possible. I'm trying to, watch as many interviews, read as many books, stay attuned, stay abreast of what's going on in the culture. Because at this time, everything that's going on, the more information you can take in, the more then you can actually give out, right? The more perspective you have. And I feel like what's going to happen out of this time is some of the best art is going to come out of these times. So how has this timing, what's going on culturally, globally, pandemic wise, how do you think this is impacting, or how is it impacting, or how will it make an impact to your art in a positive?
Absolutely. Well, just to use this opportunity to say, just because of talking about the times, it's been 185 days since Breonna Taylor was murdered, and 185 days since those fucking cops have not been arrested. So I just like to say that. That's right out there. Express some.
Well, I need to put on Toby real quick. I don't want to get off the live. I'll put on Toby with that, arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to use this opportunity to not let anytime I get a chance to say something publicly, I will not let any person's name who's been murdered in cold blood go unheard. So we're not going to let her name be forgotten. And
absolutely.
To pivot into that, man, it was really strange for me because during the pandemic, I was writing a screenplay that I had based off of a dream that I had one night, which was like actually the first time that had ever happened for me. And it was just so vivid. It was something that I had to write down. And it was very heavy, culturally heavy. It was very heavy in race relations between Black and white people. And this is all being written in March and April, May, and then Black Lives Matter, George Floyd happens, and the cultural the shift was insane. And I had this project that was, my agent had it in his hands, and it was like, he kept using the word timely. And I'm like, bro, you can't be, I'm not here to do any, like, he's like, we got to get this story out. Cause this is like and it was written before the situation that is impacting our culture right now. In America. And so I had to do some meetings. I had some meetings, I can say, with a couple of people, Lionsgate Films being one of them. They were big company, was very interested in getting this project out because it's timely. They wanted to move with it. They wanted to put it into the hands of some production companies and things. And I was like very uneasy because it was based on race, and I'm white, and I'm not here to profitize off of things that are timely to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was an opportunity that had been brought to me that I had to like even I was like pushed back a little bit because I didn't want to be that guy who was out here like, is it timely? It is timely in the sense of the word timely.
Yeah.
Is it almost borderline inappropriate to be dropping films about race? That was an impact on my career. So I was been dealing with that situation, right?
Yeah.
And then in the pandemic sense, my kids aren't in school. We're going to educate them. They can't go outside to the playgrounds, the play structures, the meetups, the classes, and all the things that they had going on, the sports and everything that they had all lined up. So I had to tune it in, take it into the house. And as a creative, to be shuttered inside for months at a time, watching, the war for equality happen in Portland explicitly,
right. And you're literally in your backyard, literally in your backyard.
So watching this happen on TV, educating my children during all of that, educating them on not only cultural and racial values, but I mean, how to wash their damn fucking hands and not sneeze on them. You know what I'm saying too? And so, and at the same time teaching them the alphabet, it's like, it's very hard to squeeze in time for your creative path, right?
Yeah, no, I feel that.
You know what I mean? Like, and then for me, the screenplay that we brought down to Sundance Film Festival in January before all of this Michigan fucking ruined everything. I had written that strictly at like a place in Portland called Bay's Chicken, because I would just go to this chicken restaurant.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to go. And then pandemic happened and we didn't go. And then you were like, when it first happened, when you were trying to figure out when it's gonna open back up, you're like, Bay's Chicken, it gotta be open. Like we gotta go there and just vibe and let's get, we want to talk to Chris, we gotta go there, get rosé and just, it's just
shout out to Bay's Chicken on Southwest Ash Street in Portland.
Yeah. Nah, man, I still ain't been there. Yo, man, to your point, I know for me,
I would leave the house to be creative.
Yeah.
I had to leave the house to be creative, because like every time I'd open up my MacBook, the kids would scream, right? So I wrote a whole screenplay over the course of 3 months at Bay's Chicken, right? So to not be able to leave the house and to find room upstairs, I'll be typing in the bathroom now to get away from it.
Yo, one of the most creative places. I had my friend on the beginning of the summer. Man, his name is Stuart. He actually used to work at Nike. Incredible interior designer. Incredible. And my mind is going blank right now. Hopefully it comes to me. But an incredible interior designer. He was saying now with this, people are literally how you live is changing. But to this, like now, the parents need to redefine their space. This open space concept of living. They're like, yo, we need to have that enclave where I can go and just be away. And the kids need it too. But adding to your point, I know for me, I've been heavy on like legacy purpose. Heavy the last 12, 18 months. Like heavy, like pushing it. Anyone that follows any of my content, I'm like, yo, do what you like to do, find your passion, monetize it, whatever, but do it. And I can say that from places that's what I've done for myself. But now I actually feel even more responsibilities. If I'm doing something, like it has to have meaning. You know what I mean? Like it has to have meaning. Like it has to punch through. It has to be a value add to the culture, to perspective, to enlightening people, to whatever, because that's just a requirement nowadays. So that's why I feel as a creative, like everything I'm doing, like, yo, if it don't have nothing, forget, I'm not money motivated, but if it don't have value, then I can't do it. But yo, man, so I want to get to this point out of this thing I call branded behavior. You know what I mean? It's a quick, you know what I mean? Like, yo, kind of lets people know how, gives them a inside perspective of who the person is based upon these questions that I ask. So at least that's the goal. So some of them are either or, some of them you can just expand upon. So for you, being the film buff, and I know I could ask someone else and they wouldn't give me this answer, but you being a film historian, a film buff, man, let me know what's your favorite film and why.
Oh my gosh,
and you can give me a couple, cause I know you're in the game, so you can give me more than one if you want to.
Yeah. Okay. My God, bro, that's a heavy one. That's a heavy one. All right, I got it right here. I actually have a list of my favorite films I put right here. But to be honest, the most influential film in my life, I'll just get the ones that are the most influential to me.
Gotcha.
Out of the way. The way that I write, and for people who don't know, I tend to write extremely dark and dramatic, tragic narrative stories.
Yeah.
And so Requiem for a Dream, with Jared Leto and Jennifer Connelly and Marlon Wayans, changed my life when that movie came out. So the way that they shot that movie, the way that they wrote that movie, just the idea behind the movie that everyone ends up awful. It's just a sad film and it's not happy at all. Like there's usually silver linings to a film, and that was like the first movie I'd ever seen that really just like been,
Yeah.
So that was probably
I haven't seen it. I mean, that you put me on. I've never even heard of it.
I'm linking you, man. I gotta link you. And so I guess then my second would be, and like a lot of people, The Departed.
Okay.
Man, seen The Departed? Martin Scorsese film.
Yes.
With Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg. It's just like the biggest cast of all time.
Which is hard to pull off. So it's hard to pull off those films in a good way.
Absolutely.
Usually, like when you have a cast of A-listers, It
Absolutely.
usually like and I think part of it is the buildup because you assume if I have this many A-list actors, it's going to be amazing, and then it never kind of hits to that expectation, right? It never gets there.
Never done.
So yeah,
And I mean, you know, we got like classics like Pulp Fiction,
yeah.
Casablanca, you know, I could go
Casablanca. Let's talk about that for a second before we go on. So my guy, we're gonna get into fashion too, and we'll ask him the question. But we were talking over the summer. You're like, yo, man, I'm just feeling like, the silks, and I'm coming out with this is pre-COVID. I'm coming out with the silks and the shirts and da 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 da. I'm like, bro, have you heard of this Casablanca brand?
my
And then I
God,
sent you to it, and then I sent you the link, and you're like, bro. For those that don't know,
it's the fire. It's so
fire,
fire. Oh my gosh.
fire.
As some of my promotional pics for this interview showed that wow, bro. It's a shame too, because I got about a dozen amazing designer silk shirts now. I was actually gonna wear one, but then I decided to go with the writer look today.
Right, the writer look. I feel like we just had to pause, right? On culture, on fashion, whatever. It's like I feel like everything that we could have did this year just go carry over to next year. You know what I mean?
Oh
They're
yeah.
gonna have all these brands, if they stay in business, they're gonna have such a large pile or stockpile of goods. They're gonna have to make the trends not really change that much because or else they're gonna discount everything that should have been popular in spring, summer 20 and fall 20, right? They just have to do that. I know for me, one of the films, so I think I've mentioned this numerous times. Before I was a stylist, a business coach, a colleague suggested, Brandon, watch movies, right? Watch movies because if you watch a movie, you pay attention to the wardrobe.
Oh
That,
yeah.
that not only, magnifies the ebbs and flows of the character of what's going on, but you can then determine if the wardrobe is in fact correct to the mood and what it should be to the film. And so I watch all kind of classic films because you can't get a lot of current films. So I was a big Cary Grant fan because of that. To Catch a Thief, like I watched that because that film took me to what he's wearing, and it's just a classic film. So for those that haven't seen it, it's classic. Cary Grant,
Grace
there, the guy.
Kelly.
Yeah, that's for me.
North by Northwest, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo,
they had so many. Kerry had his own style too because he had the broader shoulders, right? So
yeah.
he was rocking the broad shoulders, and he did big ties, I believe.
Well, and that was just the era of glamour, right? I think literally I heard one time where Cary Grant was like, "Yo, if I could come back as someone else, I want to come back as Cary Grant." Like literally, that's how it was. Like he wanted to, if he could be anyone, meaning the persona on film, that is who he wanted to be because what he signified and what he stood for was just like, that was Hollywood excellence at that time.
Absolutely. Man was a genius.
Yeah.
A genius. I was just reading an article that said he spent 2 years, and in those 2 years, he took 100 doses of acid, of LSD. Cary Grant, bro. And to emotionally get in tune, and he said it changed his life for the better, and it was therapeutic, and it was like the best experience.
Yo, artists do crazy things. So we talked about Casablanca. Favorite fashion designer. Who is it?
Ooh. Oh man. Well, I'd like to go. Okay. So his designs were all right, in my opinion, but as a person, he was a fucking nut and is like embodied who I fucking just the crazy fucking side of me is Alexander McQueen.
Okay, yeah.
Fucking crazy, bro. He was putting the skulls all over shit, and then I mean, bro, I read a story. He did eventually commit suicide, unfortunately.
Yeah. Have you seen that? Have you seen this film? It
was McQueen.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was planning on killing himself at the end of a runway, and I was just like, that man is a movie, and I just like, he was a movie, and then just
he lived the movie, literally.
He was fucking crazy. So him as a personal designer is a favorite of mine. But bro, and to touch upon a point you made earlier, I'm gonna say Ralph Lauren. And
okay. Ralph we trust.
Timeless forever. As you can see, I like Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
you can rock it preppy, you can rock it formally, you can rock it, you know, in a creative way, you know, and you can even touch upon the streets with some vintage Ralph Lauren. You got the low lifes, you know, the polo vintage kids like that. And I just think his pieces are timeless, bro. The shit that he was making in the 80s and the early 90s, people are paying quadruple price for used now.
I mean, to take on what we talked about earlier with Ralph Lauren, is almost, it's timeless. It's almost undefinable. It's almost unboxable, pun intended. Like it can be everything. Like there's no specific genre you can place upon it. Where it's just street culture, it's just classic. You know, when you're talking about Purple Label or whatever, like you have everything, right? So the thing is, because it's so timeless, because it's so unboxable, if you will, you can really do anything to it, and it's always good. And like that's why I don't like trend. Like I tell people, like for me, it's style over fashion all day. Favorite actor and favorite actress.
Ooh, Christian Bale. Bale as an actor, he's
legend. Talk about going to the depth for characters.
Oh man!
Right?
Like I tried to write like as a method actor. You know, method actor will lose 50 pounds, whatever. Yeah. I tried to write like a method writer at one point to like get in the headspace of characters. Oh man, that shit is detrimental to one's life, bro. And so how that man can just become these people and not, it's fantastic. And female actress, Viola Davis, bro. Viola Davis. She's probably one of the most strong female actors that I have ever seen on screen, as well as versatile. She can go either way. She could play a corporate, you know, strong-armed and bitch, or she could play like the sensitive, soft, endearing mother in Fences. You know, I mean,
the range is amazing.
Range is fantastic.
Last one, man. Actually, two. Your favorite film festival, and what is the film festival you want to go to when we get back to living? Like, what is the film festival you want to go to?
And
they might be one and the same.
I'm like the Sundance Kid, my guy. They call me the Sundance Kid. I've always had a fondness for the Sundance Film Festival, just because of how it started and like the way it's all tucked up in the snow in Utah. It's all cozy and shit and like sweaters or whatever. And I was just at the one in January, and it was like the best experience of my life. So I would love to go back. As you know, I go back every year. I'm probably not this year, but I would love to go back with one of my films at Sundance over every other one. I don't care if Cannes is more prestigious. I don't care if Toronto is more prestigious. I want Sundance, bro. That's the one.
See, man, I want to go to those, man. Ever since Entourage, best. You know, that's my show. That's my show. Oh, so you know what I mean? Because that, like, for me, you identify with the characters through film, and from an aspirational perspective. Every guy wants to live the lifestyle of Vinny Chase. Everyone wants to have the chutzpah of Ari, right? Everyone wants to have that level of swagger, that level of just that aura about who he was in that character. So that did it for me, man. I could chat with you all day, but I know you got other shit to do. And so, man, I just want to thank you for coming on, giving us a glimpse of what it's like to be a writer, taking us through the arc of your story and how to brand yourself and how to persevere and how to stay attuned to yourself and be like I said, that focus for once. Man, I appreciate you. Let the people know where to find you. Everything going on, just plug away before we get off.
Absolutely, my guy. Well, we got some big projects coming up. We got some independent short films coming to Portland. So, I mean, keep an eye on.
Oh, hold on. So hold on. You know, I gotta say it. Can we? Are we? Is that still a go? Can we even talk about that?
That short film I wrote for you. I wrote this man a short film. If a lot of people didn't understand, it was actually the first film that I wanted to jump in as a producer on, man. Because we had dialogue about it. I knew we could produce that, and it was a great story. It was a tremendous story.
Yeah.
I think now more than ever that story would be a hit. And now over the course of the last year, with the things that I've been able to ascertain production wise, we can make that happen.
We can do. We got the creators in Portland. So like, okay, to what we've been talking about this entire time. I knew I needed to do shit that was about me, that was a personality, right? I've never acted, right? It would, and to your credit, what you wrote was a reflection of who I am, but also why I was intrigued. It was the polar opposite of who I am too. So it was me and the opposite of me. So if we ever do that, but that's still that's connected to where I'm going. So we got to make that happen, man. But yo, but I had to say that real quick. You know what I mean? So let this be known. Let me brag for a second. So I have a guy that has a show, so writers to Netflix, that wrote a part based on your boy. I'm done. I've won. I've won a life. I've won a life.
Man, we tentatively called that thing. It was called Once Was.
Yeah. I remember reading the script. Yo, we got to make it happen, man.
We're gonna tease him with something with that. We're gonna hit it. We're gonna see how we can do it.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Yo, well, like I said, man, I appreciate you. I know you got big things going on. Man, this is way overdue. When I get back, we have to get, go do something. To is Bays open? Are they back open?
Yeah, they're back open. Yep.
Go there, do something, man. But yo, I just appreciate you, man. I appreciate your creativity. I appreciate you being one of the true creators in the Northwest, right? And I say that from the perspective of being a creator that's not typical. Because again, you colored outside the lines with your creativity. I feel like I want to color outside the lines. I hate assimilation. I hate, I'm a contrarian, right? So I don't want to color in the lines. I want to color outside the lines and create and do something new. And that's what you've done as far as how you paved the way. So I appreciate you, bro. And man, just keep doing what you're doing.
About to be Basquiat, baby. We're all over the place.
Right? Yo, that's real art right there. It's one thing to color in the lines. It's a whole other thing we can color outside the lines.
See, it's one thing to color inside the lines because anyone can color inside the lines and make the picture look good. If you color outside the lines and it still look good, then you know you got something cooking right.
Couldn't say better myself. That's what we gonna end on. My guy, Christian. Yo, listen, follow him.
Love to you and the family. You stay safe in Arizona. I know it's hot down there.
Yeah, man. I talked about before, man. People would think, I'm saying, I'm in Arizona. It's nice. I'm thinking the melanin is just gonna be glowing on a whole nother level, out of body, out of world experience. But it's too hot. But now it's it's cooling down a little bit. So come October, I'm gonna come back. When next time I come to P, like next year or whatever, y'all gonna be like, damn, B, you are actually darker in the fall than you are in the summer. How did that happen? Well, because I can go outside now because it's not 115 degrees.
My guy. Oh, cool. Big love, bro. Listen, man, anytime you got my number, bro, we calling, we're chopping, we're getting creative, brother.
Always, bro. I needed this. I appreciate it, man. You enjoy the rest of your week.
Lifestylest for life, baby. I'll see you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Peace, homie.